Hello everybody, it's Coltrane. Today I am back for a very morbid topic. I'm going to be discussing with you Death. Of Death, actually, by Francis Bacon. So I'm equipped with my notebook and the actual essays. So here we go, I hope you enjoy. His essay begins with this line: "Men fear death, as children fear to go in the dark, and as that natural fear in children is increased with tales, so is the other." What does that mean? Basically, with this line, I think he is saying that if you have tales of the dark, if a grandmother or a mother or someone was telling their children tales of the dark, and they said, oh, there are ghouls in the dark, there are ghosts and scary things, then the child is going to become afraid of the dark, simply because of the associations with the dark. So what Bacon is saying is that it is the same for adults and death. That death frightens adults because of the agonies told about death through stories. But this brings us on to the very important point of death versus the concept of death. He makes it clear that monks, religious scholars, even Stoics have exaggerated the idea of death. And it is due to death being exaggerated which makes people afraid of it. He then gives the quote, "You shall read in some of the friars' books of mortifications that a man should think with himself what the pain is, if he have but his fingers pressed or tortured, and thereby imagine what the pains of death are, when the whole body is corrupted and dissolved, when many times death passeth with less pain." So I think here he is applying the idea that the suffering and the torturing of pain is what people associate death with, even though death might pass you and eventually cause less suffering. But this is something that I will move on to and explore in a bit more detail later on. First, we go back to the point of death versus its concept. And it was Seneca, a very big name which I know very little about, who said that it is not death, but its concept that is fearful. Bacon then adds that people can overpower their fear of death if they wish to do so. And from this point, he goes on to list the people who are not afraid of death and the types of people. So, for example, you have revenge triumphs over death, love slights it, honour aspireth to it, grief flieth to it, fear preoccupieth it. What the hell does that mean? Basically, I think what he's saying is that a person who wants revenge has no fear of death, simply because they just want revenge, and they are probably willing to die for this revenge. Secondly, a lover will die for their beloved, like Romeo and Juliet, Juliet and Romeo. A man of honour, a woman of honour as well, anybody of honour will die to protect their honour. Finally, you have a sufferer, someone who's melancholic, someone who's downtrodden. This person will rather die than experience their sufferings. So these are the types of people who do not have fear of death. He then goes on to list the names of some big people who I do not really know too well, and one day I will research very deeply into this. But these are the people who are also not afraid of death, even when it is approaching them. Augustus Caesar died in a compliment. This roughly translates to Livia, live with the memory of our marriage, and farewell. Tiberius, in dissimulation. His powers of body were gone, but his powers of dissimulation still remained. Vespasian, in a jest. Alas, I think I'm becoming a god. And Septimius Severus, in dispatch. Make haste, if there is anything more for me to do. Sorry if I've offended anyone by pronouncing these names wrong. So after listing these out, he goes on to say that in Athens, Stoics used to prepare for death. But Bacon views this as a way that fear is increased. Basically, he is saying that when one prepares for death, they are increasing the likelihood of fearing death as well. Think of it like this. You have a film, it's a scary film, everything goes silent, you expect a jump scare. The anticipation is arguably more frightening than the jump scare. But then you have a comedy film, and suddenly there's a random jump scare. It isn't that scary. It might be scary for that split second, but there was no anticipation. There was no fear building up to that. However, his main important point, which I think this is the main takeaway of the video, is that a person who remains busy in their works, honorable duty or whatever, a person who remains busy, occupies their mind, and is doing things, if they die, they suffer less than someone who waits and prepares for it. If you anticipate something, then the anticipation is likely worse than the actual end result. So, basically, do something. Do something and do it. My words to you. But to conclude this very, very short essay, don't run from death like a coward. Take it in the stride of life and see it for its beauty, not for everything it has been made to be. So there you go. That is Francis Bacon's Of Death. He refers to some literature, a lot of Roman philosophy, Greek philosophy as well, which I do not know too much about, but I guess this is a nice little insight. The main takeaway: pursue something. Do not wait for death. Death will come for you when it wants to. Otherwise, live your lives, meditate in a field, drink warm water. This has been Coltrane again. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you can take something away from it. And please comment something about death or something less morbid. It's your choice. But thank you again for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon.